Hello, I'm Tony Rasmussen. I'm the creator of Rants and Reviews. And since I couldn't get the footage for Season 1, I decided I'm gonna just give you my little insight into what I felt Season 1 was. So let me start off by saying I did this season in 2012. So this was when I lost my ability to upload and I couldn't edit anything. So with that stuff in mind, we'll start off by looking at the pilot. The first episode. Yeah, that black screen was mostly to cover up my face because I didn't really want to show off what I looked like when I was actually giving this. But doing a top 10 list on regular show, I realized a lot of things have come since I did this. I mean, when I did this episode, regular show was in its third season, and I think I sort of was basing my list off the episodes I really had seen. I think if I would have done the list now, I would have probably put some of these episodes up on there. I mean, currently the show's still in its 5th season, and it's going on its 6th. So, kudos out there to J.G. Quintel and the rest of his crew. I don't think there's really anything else I could say about this episode, actually. I think this episode just explains itself. Like I said, I wish I would have made a few more minor changes to the episode. Probably would have showed my face, would have gotten some video clips. But that's what happens when you have no editing and have no video uploading abilities. Episode 2. Sonic the Hedgehog Review Part 1. Okay, to be honest, this was a retrospective I did. And I was actually borrowing these games since I did not have the original copies. In fact, to be honest, I only got 2 Genesis games out here. I got Batman Returns and I got Desert Strike. With that being said, though, yeah, doing the Sonic review, this was the first time I showed my face. And it was also the first time I realized I really screwed up. Now, let me tell you one thing right now. The TV I have now, it's a flat screen that's HD. What I was using back then was a junky 19-inch VCR TV combo from like 2004. So there were lots of things wrong with it. In fact, the reason I had to get the new TV is because the old one just busted. The VCR doesn't work, everything's broke. So, well, it turns on just fine. That's really what it works for. So that's why like the brightness was screwed up. I was trying to fix on the TV and all this, and I couldn't get it fixed in time. Overall, this could have been a better episode, I realized. I mean, now when you see me do gameplay footage, I'm doing an emulator, obviously. I record off of the laptop through some weird way because the system I'm using right now to record this won't allow me to record off the desktop. So I have to do it in this ass-backwards way. It's long and hard to, sort of comprehend, but you get through with it. Episode 3, the Sonic Review Part 2. Now this one I did somewhat different. I did this out in my living room. And that's where many other problems came about. Now you people gotta remember, you may see her name in the credits, but in the first year Megan was just there. She was just there to somewhat be there. I had to watch the kids, so I do the videos during that time. So when you heard these background noises, it was them, and I tried my hardest to keep them quiet so I could film this, but they wouldn't keep quiet, so there was sort of a back and forth about all this. And this was one of those ones where I really, really was worried that something happened. While we were filming, I think, if I remember correctly, it was Noah, who I think coughed while we were filming. And so, by the way, I have allergies. So we were sitting there, and we were just like, oh, crap. If that gets on the footage and it's, it gets uploaded, we are screwed. People, will realize, oh, they may have no editing technical, abilities. Luckily, I don't think we heard much of it. But other than that, I think this episode could have been better as well. Again, the brightness issue, even though we were filming on different TV, it did appear clear, though. But yeah, that's just Sonic the Hedgehog, the 2-part reviews.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. You bet. Later.
Episode 4, the South Park Top 10 list. Like I said before, a regular show, when I did this list, at the time, South Park was in its 15th season. So, doing this now, I would have changed it up a little bit. Like, for example, if I was doing the top 10 list, I would have probably included some episodes from season 15 and 16, and now 17, obviously. But, with that being said, South Park wasn't the only episode I had planned to do a top 10 list. In fact, The Simpsons was supposed to have a top 20 list that I was planning to do. And, unfortunately, it never came through to be. And it was just like, now with the second year, we were going to do a Simpsons tribute. But because of all these issues we've been having, we decided to end, and frankly, I do want to get started on the new projects as soon as possible. So, for now, while I'm talking, I'm going to just show the list of the other shows that I like. I'm going to show my top 10 list, or my top 5 favorite episodes of that show. But with that being said, like I said, I would have made a few changes with this list. I still think Simpsons It Is my #1 favorite episode, because I think it's the biggest rip, while at the same time tribute to The Simpsons I've ever seen. Other than that, I think the Muhammad controversy, when I brought that stuff up, that was still present in people's minds when we did this, because this was 2 years after it. So it was still present in people's minds, so I was kind of, again, a little worried. And that's why in the comments I wrote, if I offended anyone, I didn't mean to, I had to bring it up. So, yeah, that's the South Park top 10 list. Episode 5, SpongeBob SquarePants Rant. Why is this show still on the air? I mean, when I did this list, the show was the end of the 8th season, beginning of the 9th season, and now it's still in the 9th season, and it's going to its 10th season, but it's got this movie sequel that's coming out, and what I said back then, I still somewhat believe to this day. I don't think it's gotten worse, though. I actually think it's gotten a little better. And what I mean by that is, it's not as annoying and repetitive as it once was. So, but with that being said, I've heard from many people, speaking of shows that shouldn't end, that like people saying like, "Oh, The Simpsons should end. The Simpsons is bad as well." And I sit there and think to myself, the show's been on the air for 25 years. It's obviously done something right to reach 25 years. Now with SpongeBob, it was supposed to end after 3, probably 4 years. And Nickelodeon just thought, hey, cash cow, 10 years. So, what I feel differs The Simpsons from, SpongeBob is that The Simpsons tries to relive the glory days, that it once had. I admit, yeah, there are some bad episodes, but it's trying to relive what worked and trying to incorporate it into the new generation. And, I think the true sense is that it's not that The Simpsons has gotten bland, I think it's that people's attitudes have changed over the years. I think because of shows like King of the Hill and South Park, Beavis and Butthead, the attitude of humor has changed. And Family Guy's not really being a big help anymore either. And now I guess I'm hearing that Family Guy is sort of going in the same boat now. So, now saying I don't necessarily hate SpongeBob as much anymore. I just can't relate to the idea that I grew up with this and now my little brothers can grow up with this. My sister grew up with this. Everyone in my family at one point has probably grown up with it, with the exception of my parents. All 3 of us kids probably grown up with it at one point. And it's sad to think that Noah's next in line. Episode 6, the Yoshii news rant. Okay, it was kind of weird doing 2 rants back to back, but when I did this one, okay, let me remind you, this was 2012. So this was at the height of the Yoshii News versus TVC sort of competition. And, there was sort of competing ratings and stuff like that. Who can get higher, who can get lower, all this stuff. In the end, it was sort of a tie. Really, I would say, though, he did win in some way because new gaming became popular. But overall, I would say it was a tie. And nowadays, I'm realizing now I'm the top dog in some ways, and he's sort of in the lower half. But between those 2 years, then, by the time we did the second year, we've sort of grown to somewhat be a partnership. Now, I'm going to say right now, Yoshii News is a good company. I don't have any issues with Yoshii News. In fact, this video that we're doing for this auction and, what Yoshii's doing, this is all to help support, Project Tokyo and stuff. So, he's being a big help right now. We're trying to sort of work back and forth. I mean, I kid with the guy, and, when I kid with him, I really don't mean I'm just trying to sort of, have some fun. But, I don't usually take it harshly, sort of being angry at Yoshii News. I think I took it because the idea that he made a web show about a cat and a dinosaur, and it was becoming more popular than a guy who, in similar ways to Doug Walker, was just trying to voice his opinion, was beating that show, kind of sort of screwed us over. And I guess recently I've heard he's talked about ending the Yoshii next summer or next spring. So, if he does, hey, good for you, you ran over 100 episodes, and here we were, we barely made it to 30. So yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about Yoshii News, and that's that. We've held a complete partnership now for 2-3 years, and let's just keep it at that.
Fight!
Okay, episode 7. Look at TV games. Okay, this episode was a last-minute idea. What we originally planned never came to be. In fact, many of the original ideas we had for the first season never came to be. That's why there was only 19 episodes in the first season. Because many of the ideas we had never came to be. This episode was a last-minute idea. I don't remember what the original concept was that we were going to make. But this was a last-minute idea. And to be fair, I don't hate TV games. I actually love TV plug-and-play games. In fact, the Atari I brought up in episode 20, that was actually a TV plug-and-play. Yeah, I bought that for $40 at Walmart, a TV plug-and-play Atari, and the controllers just resembled the original controllers. So that was kind of dumbfounded luck. Now, doing this as a last-minute episode, I had to think on the fly about all this. And I remember when I did the opening scene, when I was talking about all the various plug-and-play games, I was really thinking of James, Ralph, Angry Video Game Nerd. I was thinking of what episode was it? I'm trying to remember what episode. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think. It's late at night, so I'm trying to think of what episode. Pong. That was it. It was the Pong consoles episode. And, to see when I go, like, here's another one, and another one, and another one, it was resembling that. It was paying homage to that, because I love that scene. They built another one, and another one, and another one. I just love that quick reaction to, hey, there's more of these, and, they're being built. And I still have some of those plug-and-plays. The only one I don't think I have anymore is the Frogger. I had to give that one back. I was borrowing that one. Other than that, I kept all of them, and again, the Atari is now a plug-and-play, which kind of is scary, but hey, what are you going to do? Okay, episode 8. The top 5 movie trilogies. Now, when I did this list, this was always in my mind to do a trilogies list. The same thing with Nicktoons. It was these 2 episodes back to back were sort of just ideas I had stemmed in there. But doing the trilogies list, I'm sort of now looking back thinking, there's a lot more trilogies I could have added on here. So, like, the other ones I would have probably put on there is Lord of the Rings. I don't think there's any more. Well, technically Star Wars, but because that's a saga, I don't think it really matters anymore. Same thing with now Lord of the Rings, I guess now. I would have probably included it prior to The Hobbit, but it's kind of too late. But when this came out, I think this was before Harold and Kumar 3, or... No, I think it was after Harold and Kumar's Christmas. So that's why Harold and Kumar ended up getting number 5. Because the Harold and Kumar Christmas came out before this video came out. So when we did the video, we were like, oh wait, Harold and Kumar, Christmas, now it's a trilogy, okay, let's do it. And so, that's really that. I don't think I have anything else to say about this episode. I would say the, doing the list, now, thinking that Toy Story now isn't going to be a trilogy. I guess I heard they're making a 4th Toy Story, or they're planning to make a 4th one. Now if I did this list, I would have probably taken Toy Story off the list. But then there wouldn't be 5 of them, so what would I do? So yeah, that was the top 5 movie trilogies. Episode 9, the top 5 Nicktoons. Again, sort of similar to the movie trilogies. I had this one stemmed. Except, with this one again, I sort of regret the way I listed it. I mean, I put Ren and Stimpy at number 1. Like, when I put Ren and Stimpy at number 1, I think I'd recently gotten Ren and Stimpy and I was watching it and I enjoyed it and stuff. But I think for me the two Nicktoons I truly watched were Hey Arnold and Rocko's Modern Life. Those are my 2 favorites. And in the honorable mentions, I mentioned SpongeBob, the first 3 seasons. Sort of, those were my favorite episodes, the first 3 years. Other than that, I think that's probably about it. I would have just changed the list up a little bit, now looking back, but I think at the time I just got introduced to Ren and Stimpy and, John Crispolucci's artwork, and I was kind of getting influenced, and, if people, out there are paying attention, the work I do now, the artwork, even the stuff behind me here, it's a little graining, but I'm now taking a little bit of Crispolucci into that. So I'm trying to make my own style by sort of merging what I learned from, Matt Groening's art style and John Crispolucci's art style. Sort of mixing a little bit of Parker and Stone, a little bit of Mike Judge. I'm trying to make my own style, and it's kind of working now than it was back then. I think back then I was still trying to emulate a little bit of the styles by trying to make my own style. And now I think I've gotten my own style in a way. And now, with the art styles, I'm taking a little more influence from Steven Silver, who was a character designer for Fairly Odd Parents and was a character designer for Clerks. And Butch Hartman. Butch Hartman's now becoming somewhat of a bigger influence. Hartman and Silver becoming huger influences. But yeah, that was the top 5 Nicktoons. The last episode of the first season, episodes 10 through 19, a pile of rants. Okay, where do I begin with this? This was the last one to air, and I remember what happened was there was, I think, 10 more episodes planned out, and I remember one of them was going to be a crossover with Failure with Friends, but it never came to be, and then we were going to do, I think, a Christmas episode. I'll talk about the failed episodes in a minute, but this one sort of came again at last minute, and now looking back, I think this was a perfect way to end out. If this was going to be the ending, if I never did season 2, this would have been the perfect way to end out, because it was like the pile of stuff I just found out. Like, I could have done real episodes down, but I decided to split it into mini episodes. I think the DVD cases was going to be the first episode at one point. But yeah, with that being said, I think I've gotten the question, why does this episode count as episodes 10 through 19? Because in a way, if you split them up, they're technically mini episodes because they're like 2 to 3 minutes long each. So overall, it was like 15 minutes. So there was about 6, probably 7 little items I mentioned. And, again, sort of dating this, some of that stuff is actually gone. iCarly has ended, Victorious has ended, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was fresh at that time. When I was, the British TV thing, when I was doing the British censorship versus American censorship, I was just watching like a top 100 video that Great Britain was doing. I also think I was watching the Great Britain's I Love the 80s, I think, as opposed to VH1's I Love the 80s, which I love both shows, by the way. They're really great shows. I highly recommend it. It's on YouTube. The DVD cases, like I said, that was going to be the first episode, but it never came to be, I think, because of the cameras and stuff. Shows, yeah. Oh yeah, just talk about like my own production and stuff. I think on that list too I said Teen Romance, which that episode ended up becoming the Love episode, episode 23, which is kind of weird that I would sort of transverse back to that, but that's what kind of happens when you're sort of trying to think of ideas. You sort of comb over what you had planned and never decided to do. So yeah, the last episode, I think this worked out fine, but, sort of, again, as time went on, I ended up doing, season 2, and that, became larger than life, and sort of took on a life of its own. But, yeah, that was the last episode. So before we leave, I want to talk about the canceled episodes, the episodes that would have happened but didn't. So I'm going to go through these quickly and say why they didn't happen and what I would have expected. A 4-part Mario saga. This was going to be me reviewing Mario 1, 2, 3, as well as Mario for the Wii. I don't know what would have came to this. I think it would have been good. The reason it didn't happen, didn't have enough time. And also I think at the time my new console was coming in, because my old NES had been, busted, and I still have it. It's just, it works for certain games, it doesn't work for others. And the new one had just come in, and so, yeah, so that was right around the time I got in the FC Twin and stuff like that. And then, again, time constraints. Top Gun review. This one was also another one. This was the crossover with Failure of Friends. This would have been just me and Adam then, because Nathan, or Yosh, was not going to do this one. So, basically, this episode would have been Adam harassing me to play Top Gun and Top Gun 2, which I bought Top Gun 2 for that episode, and it never came to be. So I have now Top Gun and Top Gun 2 sitting there, just waiting to be played. And by the way, I did play them. They're not bad. But he was just going to keep harassing me, and it was sort of be like the nerd beating Bugs Bunny, if you ever seen that episode. It's on YouTube. And again, it never came to be, and I think it was because, again, of the time constraints. And it's kind of that weird feeling, like, when I did the Game Critics, I'm not being mean or anything, but when I did the Game Critics, I sort of had that weird feeling that Adam sort of felt like he had some control over something. It's always something whenever I try to work with him. It's some of that weird feeling like, this would be good if you did it this way, but he wants to do it another way. And we sort of compromised on that. I mean, the Joy is Saving, the way it looks now, I'm actually surprised. Based on what I had originally pitched, it's sort of close to what I thought, but they sort of changed it up a little bit. But, that's for another time. I think that's all the canceled episodes I can remember. So, yeah, this was sort of our look back at Season 1. And again, I'm sorry I didn't get you episodes. But, hey, thanks for getting this DVD. Thanks for willing to go out there and bid for this. It's really grateful that someone out there actually cares enough to want to see TVC keep going on. I mean, these last 3 projects that we have planned up, these are sort of like newborns. I mean, when I did Damien as Devil, that was, I sort of didn't have much expectation for those. For, that project, I was wanting it to be an animated series. It became a comic strip. Hey, it all worked out. I lasted 3 years in the advance. That was kind of astounding. But with these projects, I really want them to stand out. And I'm going to get serious here for a moment. Co-ed right now, I really want that to be, not the big ticket item, but I want that to be sort of the consolation prize. Same thing with James and Rocco. Those are both consolation prizes. Not that I hate the projects, it's just that I see where the full potential is right now as I'm, doing this, for what project could be understood. So I believe that I want to do Timebox King. And I want to do Timebox King as a manga, because I think it will work perfectly overseas than it would over here in America. So, to the person who did buy this through bidding in the auction, whoever did, thank you. Thank you for helping to contribute to helping continue TVC through its various projects. With your help, I think the Timebox King will become hopefully a big success overseas, when the time comes. I mean, right now, as I'm doing this, which I'm doing this, by the way, in May 2014, so, I've been looking at, ticket prices and all that stuff, and, the cost right now is astounding. It's gonna wind up being about $2,500 to $3,000, overall, just to pay, unless I go a one-way ticket and decide just to live over there for a while. But like I said before, just thank you for showing up and willing to help out and doing all this stuff. I want to give also special thanks to Yoshii News, Raiden Krieger, Seth Krieger, and Josh Krieger, and Nathan Daleka, and all those guys over at Posen High School, who supported TVC over the years and supported all the projects. Those guys are really what helped make TVC shine. Skylar Spence, Adam Paczynski, those people really helped make TVC what it is, for almost 10 years. I think if it wasn't for those guys, I'd probably look like a crazy man sitting here doing drawings, hoping for consolation to his hard work. So yeah, thank you guys for all you've done, and thank you for supporting TVC.